Yeah, come into the video as well. When you
Same
can.
link?
Same. Oh no, let me share it.
That link is in the WhatsApp.
It's
What's that?
yeah, it's in WhatsApp. Hey, Frank, good to see you. Caroline, Sabrina. Let me WhatsApp that to you. Oh, you actually, I believe, Dr. Laura, I actually sent you a calendar invite.
Oh, lovely. Oh, you did. Oh, my bad. I'll be right there. Thank you. Do I mute my phone or the audio on the microphone on the computer?
It's the
Thank you.
I think what happens is let's use audio from Clubhouse. And then so what happens is, if, for those who are coming on video, the audio is coming directly from Clubhouse. And so for those who are just checking us out, you get to see Jorge and I, and audio, guys, is coming from this, and we're focused on leaders living their values.
Okay, I guess you need to mute your computer, Michael.
Oh, am I? I got to remind you, Mitchell, but I will. Let me do that. So, am I causing reverb? That's not good. All right. I'm going to turn my mic back on. I think I've got noise cancellation, so I'm not getting reverb. Okay. At least I checked last time and I hadn't. So anyhow, let's make Dr. Laura a moderator. And anyone else, raise your hand if you'd like to speak. Frank, Ken, Sabrina, let me know. Morning, Frank Pepper. Morning, Sabrina. All right. I think looks like Frank Pepper has something to say, and we want you to say it. Dr. Laura, let me know when you come on back. Frank, welcome to the table. And
good morning, Mitchell.
Good morning. Hey, so who are you, Frank Pepper?
I am an imperfect human being.
Aren't we all? Aren't we all?
As everybody of us.
So Jorge, I think you're gonna have to. Oh, you know what I can do? Let me turn off sound from my computer, and maybe that's all I did last time. Okay, I've got no sound on my computer, so then I think it might work just fine.
All right.
All right. Yeah, we are all imperfect human beings. And I think what happened last time we were here, and I want to make it this time. So what are we talking about? Leaders living their values. Let's cover any topic that you're interested in. What are ground rules? I think we have a safe environment, although we are recorded everywhere. This should be a safe room, so you feel comfortable saying whatever you want to say. I'm going to suggest that the only thing that is off limits is hate, right? So, if you're coming with any topic, any question, and focused on love, and focused on being credible. I think what got me here, this was not always me. What got me here was interviewing 500 thought leaders on credibility, and what came out with 10 values. And those 10 values all deal with how to be a better human. So how to approach the world with love, how to approach the world with servant leadership, how to approach the world with the intent and commitment to do the right thing. And if you look at the world today, we need more credibility.
Well, that's the real way of living. We need to do whatever we want to do to feel that we're improving the world under our own beliefs.
Yeah. Yes. Who are you, Jorge Zavala?
Well, I am a crazy guy and I love to change the world, looking how to create a new city, a new country, and learn how to do the virtual environments, taking advantage for us, like having these kind of conversations that we can meet people from everywhere, anytime, and share ideas.
Nice. Hey, Dr. Laura, nice to actually see you. So for those, on social, you could see her doing her thing. And when you have a time, come on, say hi, and then remind us all, how do we share what we're doing?
Well, thanks for letting me come join on in. I'm hoping y'all can hear me. Yeah, great, excellent, yay. Okay, so we are in the Credibility Nation Club. You see that greenhouse? It's just about up top of my head there. Select on that. Go to the greenhouse. Get nice and warm and juicy. And if you're not a member, what's the dealio with that? I'm not quite sure. If you're enjoying the content, come on in. And you know what? I'm going to invite some people as well. While I'm here right now, I'm going to invite some people to become members. Super easy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Easy peasy, nice and breezy. Coming back to the main stage. I'm going to close out of there.
That's nice. So how do we go about inviting? I think I know much of this stuff, but how do we go about inviting people?
Well, if you go to the greenhouse at the top of the page, just to the right of Nation, the word Nation, the name of the club, select that greenhouse. Some people call it the Green Mansion. And when that calls up, that's the room content information. We have 102 members, yay! And there's one room a week, which is this one. And you see it says member or not, it says join. If it says join, you need to become a member. If it says member, you're already a member. And then to the right of that, it says invite people. When you select that, what will happen is there will be a number of individuals' profiles. Those are the people with whom follow you, and you follow them. So I'm going to go ahead and invite a bunch more people right now since I'm in there, because I know they're credible. And I don't want people who are not. Caroline Boyd, is she still in the audience? Is Caroline Boyd still in the audience? I saw her in here. So I'm inviting you, Carolyn, Terry Lynn. Oh my God, so many good people. Now I'm going to close out of that, come back to the little X's. Caroline, oh, she's gone. She was here. Faye, are you in here? So yeah, that's that. That's how you invite people.
There we go. Just did that. Just invited some people.
Pardon?
Said you were so high energy. It's wonderful.
I get that all the time. I don't drink coffee. Well, sometimes. But if you come back to the stage, when you do, take your finger at the top of the screen and just pull down on it and go a little scroll there. Hey, Pepper. I love that name. That's spicy. And that kicks off the algorithm. That allows the algorithm to say, oh, yeah, they're still here. The more people on the stage, the more, once someone's in the stage, their followers are alerted that there's a speaker on the stage. So the more people who are on the stage, it can be beneficial. Some people say, get everybody. Some people just want to have their own stage on themselves. In addition, when the moderator, for example, I can particularly bring people up who I know or who are in the just below the stage, who are in the listening lounge. Who I know are phenomenal. Like, I know Ken is great. I know Faye is great. Anyway, and so
Ken's amazing, and probably the coolest place on the planet. So,
and to wrap this up real quick, is that you see in the bottom left, I have 5. That means that there are 5 shares so far. Yay! And if you come out of that, to the right of that little bubble cloud, like on a Simpsons, Homer Simpson, it says, oh, there's 7, yay! So now there's 3 shares. If you select on that, you can share on Twitter or Facebook, and I'm on an iPhone, so I don't just Twitter. Here's a tip. If you press invite people and you just select everybody and then you get their green bar, you go to ping jail, it's called. If you can't select anybody else, copy the link and then go to your back chat and see who's active in your back chat, like they're on the app, and you can post that link in their back chat so you can kind of get around it. Sneaky. Yeah. So, and then you can cut the scissors, like right now. After I finish speaking, let's say that I thought that I was a really good share, or like Mitchell had a phenomenal share. I would select that little scissors, and then it would record the previous 30 seconds, and then automatically it would call up a window in which you could select whether or not you wanted that clip to go on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You could send it on LinkedIn. You could send it to yourself on an email, blah, blah, blah. So yeah. And then raise your
Fantastic.
hand. That's a little portfolio, a little file holder to say, hey, someone wants to come speak. That's it.
Awesome. Thank you. Hey, Ken, let us know if you want us to invite you to this stage. Happy to do it. Sometimes, you know, you're on your phone and you're not that way. So that's all right. Arthur, welcome. Hey, Arthur, if you want to be able to speak, let me know, and I'm happy to invite you to the stage. Faye, welcome. Glad to have you here. Why don't you say hi, Faye? And oh, you know what, Dr. Laura, let's put in the chat if somebody wants to join us on video. Let's put the URL for the video, and I will be mostly not selective. But if I don't know you, I may not invite you to video. but I may know you when you look amazing, unless Dr. Laura says you got to let this person jump on the video. Because right now you're seeing Mitchell, Jorge, and Dr. Laura. Now I have to tell you, if you just let the two guys go and we just watch Dr. Laura, that would be like the coolest thing in the world. Oh yes, it would be, my friend. So what happened this week? Since I'm looking at you, Jorge, or looking at you, Dr. Laura, what happened this week that you were either living or not living your values? Anything in particular sort of stand out as a topic we should focus on? I think Dr. Laura is busy. So Jorge, what do you think?
Well, I came back to my long life dream of learning how to learn. And I was playing with some ideas. A friend of mine showed me how with artificial intelligence, create some kind of report and produce about 100 reference for a subject. And I was looking how to learn. That is how you create communities with a great value. And he gave me 100 reference that I can read each one of them. But the amazing thing is that the artificial intelligence software provide me a summary of each one of the articles in that reference. And I choose 2 of them, and I say how I can learn more. And I don't know if you're familiar with a process, and I just discovered, and it's called the Cornell methodology for how to take notes. I took my iPad, put the Cornell methodology, that the way that they do it is you are listening something like this over chat. You put a title on top. You divide the page in 2 sides, left and right. On the right-hand side, you put notes. On the left-hand side, you put the keywords and some triggers or some ideas. And in the bottom part, you leave a space that when you finish to read or listen, whatever you are looking, you need to provide a summary. What did you learn from that? And I am surprised because how many times we say, hey, I learned a lot, and you left, and you don't register, you don't record, you don't write. What did you really learn? And that exercise I really loved. That was a fantastic experience. Trying to see, learn how to learn is a very hard thing, but doing it in a different way, that means I learn new things about that.
By the way, I love that. It's really interesting because we're one of the sponsors we should go through life with. Personally, I think we should go through life with 6 simultaneous sponsors. One of the sponsors we should go through life with is the content sponsor. And I want to say that content sponsor is both ways, right? So it's not just where you learn, where you consume, where you grow, where you surround yourself with the right people and the right thoughts. It's also the content sponsor is what you share. And so many people go, oh my God, I don't know what to share. I don't know what to do. Hey, I don't have wisdom. By the way, you're wrong, because you do. We all have wisdom, because your wisdom is the concatenation of what you've learned, what you've grown, how you interpret it, what you've gone through life doing. And so, Jorge, what a beautiful thought process is, and I'm just going to add to it, right? So you learn something, whether or not for me, it's listening to a book, reading a book, whether or not it's listening to a podcast, watching a video cast, whether it's reading a post and it transformed, and then write it down. Now, here's the cool part. If you write it down in a post or write it down in a blog post and then share it with other people, not only have you written it down and reinforced and summarized your version, but now you get other people to give you feedback.
Yeah, and you get into a conversation, and in that conversation is where you start learning, because I can understand or have a perception about a subject, then you have a completely different perception. And when 2 or 3 or 4 people explain or describe what they learn, it's an amazing that every single insight can provide so many different learning experience, because we have a different context, we are in a different mindset, we are we're looking for how to use that knowledge into a different way. And I love this Cornell method in the way that say, okay, you start trigger, what did you learn, what are the persons that you touch, or because you share that, and you start building like a stella, like if you are doing in the water ski and moving around, and you start to amplify whatever you learn, you touch more people, and that more people touch more people. And if you really make it into a real engagement way, is that single point of contact with knowledge, maybe is a tremendous amount of change in the world that we don't know how it's going to happen. And how long is going to take that is another element. Is if you say, okay, sometimes it's going to take for a day to spread out, but sometimes maybe a conversation like this one that we're having today, somebody listens 2 weeks or 1 month later and say, oh, that was great, I miss it, but now they can get involved and revitalize that conversation.
That's so cool. That's so cool. We got a couple more people in the room. I want to point out, thanks for those who are joining us on LinkedIn. Kenny D, I'll do a quick shout out. I love your use of words. So I just have to say it. Today's conversation is so delectable, scrumptiously, deliciously, edibly, tasty, good. Thank you. I actually said all those syllables. But he also said, Lord needs no coffee to be of high energy. And I can't disagree. I can't agree with you more. Hey, Faye, welcome to the room. How are you? Oh, I think I read in, hold on. That was silly of me. Are you here, Kay?
I think her chat said she was cooking dinner or something.
I think I read that too. So sorry. Prepping dinner. Unmute the mic if you want to come on. Lucas Root, good to see you, buddy.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Nice.
Oh, Lucas, you made an impact on me last week. I just wanted to say that.
What did I do?
You were vulnerable and transparent, and you had there's a difference between courage and bravery. Courage is stepping into the fear and stepping up when there's fear, and bravery is just stepping up. And you were lying. Roar! Definitely. Gotta say. That's all I got.
Thank you so much, Dr. Laura. Love it. Thank you.
So, Mr. Lucas, why don't you say hello, introduce yourself? And one of the things I said at the beginning was, if there's something in particular that happened this week in terms of leaders living their values, either positively or negatively, like something you did that was like, oh, this is great, or something you did that you realize you didn't live your values, feel free to bring us on a particular conversation that way.
Something you're aware of, Mitchell. I'm in the process of unwinding one of my businesses right now, which is not. This is not a fun process. You have to accept and step into your and this is the result of failures, by the way. It's not, I'm not selling it, or it hasn't lived its life, and I'm moving on gracefully. This is a relatively ungraceful exit.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing, and sorry to hear that. What would be, have we picked up any lessons from this yet, or?
Yes. When I picked up this particular business, what I was sold was the idea that the business itself would be able to break even entirely on its own, and that, you know, my job would be to take that and grow it, and I was prepared for that. But you know, not everybody is credible, and I didn't do a good job. Pardon the background noise. I didn't do a good job with my own personal due diligence, and my guess is that if I had, I would have uncovered the murky waters hiding below the surface, and I, you know, that's not a fun lesson for me. I didn't properly do due diligence, so I wasn't properly prepared to be the leader that this business needed. And somebody coming in knowing that it's more like starting from scratch probably would have done a really good job, but that's not what I was set up for. That's not what I was prepared for. And at this point in my life, that wasn't the right thing for me. So it wasn't a good fit.
How many times has the due diligence process, bit us in the ass? Like, as far as everybody else, because I know personally, for me, just not going through that process, getting lazy on just a couple things, or wanting to believe somebody, as more than almost more than my own stupidity at times has gotten me into more trouble than probably anything else.
Oh, geez. I'm sorry to hear that.
How about we use it, if you don't mind, and this is not judgmental, can we use a different word than stupidity?
Ingenuity is when you're not prepared and you have ingenuity for that.
Stupidity. Ignorance is just you don't know. And stupidity is you know better, you just don't do better.
Oh, yeah. It's correct. A lot of times, correct word choice. To be old and wise, you have to first be young and stupid, and it's important to be young and stupid while you're young and stupid. It's part of really growing into discovering who you are, and I believe it to be an important process, part of life.
Now, Frank, you're super cool, and I really appreciate you. And I'm going to say your word choice are not word choices I have to agree with, because I don't believe you have to be young and stupid ever. You have to be. We are always at some point in time young, no matter how old we are, and if we're curious and we have the intent and commitment to do the right thing, and we're coachable, we can learn and make mistakes. And if we're learning from our mistakes, that means we're smart, not stupid.
That's a good rephrase.
I love you too, man. What happens is, this is what's really interesting. And I have to tell you, I'm going to share mine, because as good as I did there, because I'm thinking about it, I was meeting with one of my friends. It's an author whose book we published. So one of the companies I have, we are a book publishing company. So an author we published 12 years ago. I haven't actually physically been in a room with him in at least a decade. And he needed a couple copies of book. I had a couple copies in inventory. And instead of doing what I would normally do is put it in the mail and send it to him, because I'm busy, silly me. I said, hey, let's meet. And so we scheduled a time to meet. We sat down for like an hour and a half. It felt like in his post, he said that he felt that 12 years was like only 12 hours had passed. I'm not sure about 12 hours, but maybe 12 days. But it felt like it was almost yesterday when we spoke last. And Frank, he caught me a couple times in the choice of my words, which were these sort of marketing cookie cutter things. He goes, Mitchell, do you realize what you just said? and he replayed it back, and I go, wait, did I say that? and the answer is yes. So, even all of us, but for me, I'm consciously not trying to use words like that. And I think the thing is, probably what I'm going to say is, if you look at everyone that you're interacting with as a potential mentor, as a potential coach, as someone we're going to learn, even if they're a coach for 10 seconds, like maybe Dr. Laura, when you said Lucas, I learned from you, and I thought about you this week. Like, how cool is that? And it might have been one thing Lucas said, right? So
you're definitely, you're definitely right. And the funny thing is, I was just yesterday, I was talking to somebody about being kinder to themselves and how critically important that positive self-talk is. That if you're always like, you'll never people respect those who respect themselves, and having self-love and acceptance and whatnot, and choosing positive reinforcing word as opposed to negativity is really important. I do know better. So thank you for reminding me of that. I got to be kinder to myself here.
Very cool.
But that's fantastic, Mitchell. In the saying is, when we do conversations, we say things, and if we listen back what we say, how many different ways we can ask or mention something in a different way, and the perception that you can create could be complete opposite, from being a motivation to be a stopper. And that I agree with you is everybody, if we are in a very transparent, we have the humility to say, hey, I try to say these things. How do you perceive? Because we all the times are trying to communicate things, and we not necessarily have a meter in front of us and say, you say in the right way. I am right now testing some tool that is grammatically, that is something that when you are writing, it gives you suggestions how to improve your writing. You know that I am not an English native, I am a Spanish native. My English is a little bit bad in some way. And it's fantastic when you start trying to communicate, you write things that give you feedback, first and all in the syntax, and all the word processors can do that. But that is not the right problem. Is how you ask and how you clarify that the question is conveyed in the right way. And the next step that I really would like to see in this kind of tools is how I can say, I am trying to convince, I am trying to share our experience, I want to show leadership, and the mood that is in that phrase, when that conversation can be changed. That's a tremendous, in the learning process that I was mentioned earlier today. It's something that I really would like, and having these conversations with people like this in these groups, it is a way really to explore and say, every time that I listen and give listen a recommendation that one of the persons in the group say to other is a learning experience, and it's a way to improve.
Yeah. It was really tasty. There was like so many places for me to go on that. I'm gonna say, listen, Frank or Dr. Laura, turn off her camera for a second. Frank, Dr. Laura, Lucas, if there's a place that you want to go, just pipe up. Otherwise, I know where to go next. But I just thought, Jorge, that was really interesting. All right, looks like it's me.
Yeah.
So I love the concept of, and I can't remember. I was trying to think about exactly where it was, where I wrote an email, I wrote a message, and then there was a little button on the right, and the button on the right said, "This is the tone of what the message is you're sending."
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if it was Grammarly doing it as a result, or if it, I don't remember actually now the platform. So is that kind of what you're saying is putting that not just in the tone of the language, how does the language sound, but you're asking for apps that do what does this feel like as a tone of a leader?
Yeah. In Grammarly, they say, okay, you are talking optimistic, you are talking pessimistic, but it's just give you the feedback in how they understand. My dream in some way is not just to get the feedback that is an optimistic, is how you help me to convey the idea in the right way with the right mood. And that conversations, it requires a lot of human interaction and a lot of conversations, because I don't think that even in this group that we are several people, if you describe something about, for instance, when you point about use another word, I don't know if each one of us, we can provide a different way of understand what he tries to say and how I can transform into a better way to say that.
That's kind of interesting. So imagine this. How about here's what's interesting to me. We often try to create companies, and we think what the world is, and we think about how it should work. And then we build all this technology, we spend all this money. How about we do something different? What if you're in a room with people who, let's say 3 people, I just want to paint a visual. You're in a room, and there are 3 people who really, they work for you. And then you say, you paint the stage. You go, hey, listen, I just listened to this. I listened to Jorge talk on Saturday, do this Monday morning. You go, I want to say something, and then I want you to tell me how you heard it. It's just, I'm saying doing it manually. Right. So you tell your 3 people and you go, you give your thing. Maybe it's, 30 seconds, 60 seconds, not longer than that. And then you let people transparently give you how do they hear that without judgment, without frowns or expressions on your face. I'm just thinking, Jorge, if we did that manually, would that work? Is that what you're thinking about?
Yeah. And Laura, I guess you're in mute. We don't listen to you.
I put myself on mute.
Okay, yeah.
Clubhouse, because otherwise you just hear me go bam, or I'm very demonstrative, so I can't contain it. It's difficult. So you'll see it, but you won't hear it.
Oh yeah. So Jorge, I love having Laura with her camera on, because if we had nothing, like she's this litmus test, like you wear the people had a mood ring. Laura's the mood ring. She's this visual. So if you're watching us on LinkedIn, normally we're LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Because I made a switch last minute on Facebook, it was within the 15 minutes. We're not on Facebook today, so it's LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube. And for those in the audience, if you'd like to speak on Clubhouse, let us know. If you want to be on the video as part of the conversation, Clubhouse is the primary audio vehicle, and then we'd love to see you as well.
Well, if you want to come back into this conversation, yeah, how we can create some kind of experiment. I love that the suggestion that you say, Mitchell, is who in the group would like to say something that he wants to convey and has had very hard time to say that, and how we can help to improve that.
Ooh.
Oh, it's going to be challenging to get someone to say something that they have a hard time saying.
Jorge, but this is a safe environment. Jorge, that's so cool. I'm thinking, let's do it on Monday. And you're saying to me, Mitchell, let's do this right now.
Yeah. Right.
Oh, it's interesting. All right. Of those people who are speakers, does anyone have something that they they wanted to convey, that they want to try, and then we can interpret it for them. And while you're thinking about that, let me say hello to Adrian. Adrian, welcome. And why don't you come on and say hi, and then otherwise somebody else, if you want to think about it. Jorge, what a great idea. I love that. So.
Do you think it's wise to reset the room right quick? Folks are coming in. Or not.
Awesome. Oh, that's so cool. So the link is actually working because I could see it. Oh, you put in the LinkedIn link. I like that. That's cool. Yeah. So, hey, listen, if you want to speak, if this is something that you've been thinking about, like right now, if you want to speak, I would love to. I'd love to promote you to speaker here on Clubhouse, and also the video we do is on Streamyard. So,
Mitchell, hi, Mitchell. Hi, everyone. Hi, Dr. Laura. Could you reset the room? I'm sorry I'm coming in late, but I would love a reset.
what does that mean, by the way?
Adrian, would you like to prompt that, or I can if you'd like.
Stepped in, so I need the reset more than anyone.
Okay. Hey, everybody. This is Dr. Laura. We are in the Credibility Nation Club in Clubhouse. That is, if you're watching on LinkedIn or YouTube or I believe Twitter. We are live on all 4 platforms. What? And we are talking about leaders living their values and showing up credibly. What does that mean? So if you're in Clubhouse, please do select that greenhouse at the top of the page. And while you're at it, select that. And if you're not a member of the club, please join. And while you're at it as well, if you see member, you're already a member. There's an invite people button. I'm going to invite some folks to become members of the club. I've done this twice already since we reset the room. So that's about 30 people that I've invited to join the club just here since this room has started. And if you come back to this screen, the page that we're in, you can see all of our beautiful faces pulled down on the screen. I put that photo up of myself there. That's me and my son when he was an infant. How do you talk to yourself when you screw up, so to speak, quote unquote? Do I talk to myself with that judge in my brain, or would I talk to myself like I would my infant child, with kindness and compassion? On the bottom of the stage, you'll see on the left, there's number 22. We've got 22 room chats. To the right of that, we have 8 shares. Thank you so much for doing so. And you can always clip this if someone says something that you think is really interesting, go ahead and select those scissors, and what'll happen is a window will pop up, and you can record and save the last 30 seconds of dialogue, and then you can share that on a social platform. I think I'll do that next. If you'd like to raise your hand, you'll see just to the right of that as well, there's a little template or a little portfolio binder file thing, and that looks like one person wants to raise your hand to come on stage. The only thing we ask to protect the stage is that you have a profile that's filled out something interesting about yourself, what do you like, what do you don't like, some type of social platform other than Clubhouse, so we can check that you're not a troll, and a picture. And when you come up to the stage, please mute yourself. This is Dr. Laura. I relinquish the mic.
Ken's in the house and just made it to speaker. Ken, are you at a place you can talk?
I believe I can. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay, awesome. I'm just in the car. How's everybody doing today? Very interesting conversation.
Oh, so cool. Glad you could join us.
So just coming back to the stupid, I'm not sure who said that.
We won't even give a name.
But that's not, listen, I fully understand where he was going with that and how he wanted to say that. The only thing that I like to say, whenever I hear that, if I'm amongst friends or anything like that, is that I say, listen, I don't hang out with stupid people. And for the sum of the 5 people that we hang around, I definitely do not include stupid people as much as possible. Although I have to agree with Mitchell as well. I do not believe that anybody is stupid. I believe everybody has their credibility. I believe everybody has their own wisdom. There might be certain circumstances, situations, maybe we made if we want to call it a stupid choice, but that's all. And also, I just wanted to come to the beginning of the conversation today with regards this week and values. Don't know if you can hear my voice, but it's a little hoarse. It's coming back, but Started off the week, was a tiny bit sick, and was really out for about 24 hours, and my mind started to go, but I got some stuff to get done, and so on and so forth. But one of the values that's really important to me is to actually listen to what my body is telling me, and it's saying to, when I get sick, I tend to think that it's telling me, listen, slow down a tiny bit, and just reflect and notice whether or not I really needed to. I noticed that I really needed to slow down my mind, in all honesty, because I think it was going a bit too fast, and might have been getting caught up with a few of the tasks that needed to be done, and so forth, and getting caught up in time, and just decided, you know what, next couple of days, just going to really, take it easy, do minimal stuff that I believe I want to do, and just really come back to, and I want to emphasize this, enjoying the process. And I think that's one of the values of being on here, as well as I think each and every person here is really enjoying the process and how it really unfolds. So just wanted to share that.
Thank you, Ken. And for those who haven't checked him out, he's in Malta, beautiful area, and driving a car, so we don't see him on video. But Ken, welcome. Thank you for that. Now, Jorge, do you want to interpret what Ken just said? Because I think he said it and it felt right, good. But since we don't have a volunteer yet to do it, do you want to?
I wouldn't mind adding to it if you don't mind.
Yes, go ahead.
Sure, Frank.
Yeah, the importance of listening to your body is something that we as a society seem to have let slip by the wayside. It's now I believe that the role of emotions and feelings are from a genetic standpoint are as an indicator for the mechanical state of your brain. When our body aches and we have an injury, we stay off the injury. But when our brain needs to repair itself and go through maintenance cycles and whatnot, we never think to let it have the time it needs to do some housekeeping. And I believe that's what when you're feeling depressed and when you're feeling low, you don't want to move for a reason. Your brain is asking for a low stimulus environment in order to do its maintenance functions. And the culture of today, where we're so afraid of feeling anything negative and whatnot that will use anesthetists and numbing and whatnot. I think it's a dangerously and I think it's going to cause a lot more harm than good for because the body remembers, like those effects add up. You can't run a race car at 100% the entire time, or it only lasts 500 miles. Same thing for your body. So rest and recovery is critically important. Plus, if you're only feeling happy all the time, then you have nothing. It loses its meaning because you have nothing, no contrasting emotion to feel it. So it's important to feel, to listen to your body. Yeah, it was wonderful. Thank you for sharing that.
That's quite impressive, and really, here is the introduction of how to repair the brain and how we feel it and how we say things. I don't know if I answer the first question or just to put some craziness idea that I have in mind that triggers these things. When was mentioned on how to repair the brain, I today in the morning I was watching Live 2.0, that is a program that happens in TV every Saturday at 6 o'clock, and they were talking about the brain and a person that has a tremendous amount of capability to remember things. Then that most of us, we are every day losing a capability of remember things because we are so much overflow with things, then it's hard to remember everything. And I say, hey, can you imagine that we are living in a in the planet Earth, then we are the lab of one of the other planets far, far away, and a set of students are taking and putting us brains in different flavors to think in different ways. How you change the way you behave the brain for each one of us? And that's in some way psychology in the way that we know in the traditional way. But in some sense, how somebody can create that situations of explain things into a complete different scenario, and 10 people, we can give them a complete 10 different scenarios, talking to them individual, and then say, can you share what did you learn from each scenario that was referred to the same thing with a different way of explaining by us? That is very much the kind of exercise that you were talking, Mitchell. But if we create that scenario of everybody, we get into individual rooms, we give them different information about the same subject with a different flavor, and then put all together to say, can you get into a conclusion, or can you share to see even if they understand that they are talking about the same thing?
I'm not clear. I'm not clear what the question is.
Okay, that's great. Thank you, Lau. And that's part of the explanation. Is we are talking how to help people to convey the message in the same way, and I think that in the reverse way. Instead of talking with 10 people, listen the same things and giving feedback to the same person, we do it the other way around. We take 10 people and we give the same information separately, isolated, each one of them, talking about the same subject. And we put all together the same 10 people and say, can you start talking about the things that we describe you? Are we talking that they could realize that we were talking about the same thing that was expressed in so many different ways that maybe they don't identify that the scenario is the same thing?
If I'm understanding right, you like our own interpretation of the same principle?
Yes, it's right now there is two different focus here. The original one that we were describing that Mitchell suggests is we say is one person gave a comment and 10 people listen and provide feedback in a way how to improve that. Now, the other approach is a complete different scenario. Is that person explain to 10 different people, one by one, independently, and then after explain to each one of them, put these 10 persons together in the same room and say, can we keep the conversation going? And they are going to be talking about the same thing that we were talking about, or because the way that we describe it is understood in a different way than maybe they say, we're talking about so many different subjects that supposed to be is the same one.
Sort of like that. I think it's the what you reminded me of that one, Jorge, was that the example of train, like if let's say you had 20 people in a room and you start a conversation at one side and then you just let people whisper in somebody's ear the concept, by the time it gets to the end, it's a different conversation. And that happens through, there's probably some good technical terms, and my electrical and engineering son could probably come up with the right buzzwords for that. But what I'll say is the thought process, which we can do now, and what you may want to do the next time you're in a meeting with peers, subordinates, or people above you, the thing that you can do is why don't you set the stage by saying, hey, I'm going to say something and I want you to tell me what you think it means. And Dr. Laura has my attention because she's holding up a card with a bright idea and a question. So I am yielding the floor to Dr. Laura. I heard you. No, I saw you. You got my attention.
He's rolling his eyes. Okay.
Not at all.
Question, and I came up with an idea. This is going to blow your mind. Okay.
I love that.
Okay. So, all right. So we're talking about, let's talk about diversity and inclusion. Okay. And diversity and inclusion. So, I don't know. Have you ever heard of the melting pot theory? The concept of melting pot. Well, when I was growing up, my mom used to make this fabulous chili dip. She put a big crock pot and all these beans and the meat and the sauce and the cheese and, all the other stuff and the spices and it all come out with one big glob of dip. And it was so good. And, the chips and it was difficult to differentiate any of the individual flavors or textures. It was one big lump of yum, for lack of a better word. Well, for the melting pot, that's great. It's it's got its yumminess. At the same time, the challenge was that I couldn't differentiate each one of the ingredients. And in the same vein, assimilation with all these different cultures, all these different textures and varieties of flavors and colors and smells and tastes and the chew factor, you really sink your teeth into it. He doesn't have that. You can't differentiate it. Well, with a salad bowl theory, imagine this, that you have one meal and you have each individual ingredient, each individual culture coming to join the whole and accommodating one another to provide its own individual flavor, its scent, its smell, its color. And without that particular ingredient, the salad itself would not be the same. And you can actually, you see the vibrancy of it. And as together as one, you can still maintain the integrity, the credibility of each individual ingredient while accommodating, not assimilating, accommodating one another. Now, this is utopic. This is not this is ideal type, what about this, but naysayers. So just go with it. Give me a minute, all right? Just imagine if you had the most flavorful salad that you've ever had in your life, and it's satisfied because every single ingredient was seen and heard and smelled and appreciated, and then negating one ingredient would take away from the whole. So I prefer the salad bowl theory, although that chili dip was pretty good. I gotta say, put some cheese in there and a nice little depends on the nacho with this good stuff too. So just a theory, you can't, theories can only be disproven, they cannot be proven. Just take what you like and then throw away the rest. That's.
Hey, Mr. Lucas, I'd love to hear your thoughts.
I love the idea of a melting pot. For those of you who don't know, I'm Italian and I grew up cooking Italian. If you can't tell from my picture, that's an enormous nose on my face. It marks me out as Italian very strongly. Dr. Laura, cooking some tomato sauce is kind of like that. You put a whole bunch of ingredients together and you work them until they approach homogeny, right? You keep working them, you cook them down, you add a little bit here, you add a little bit there, and the result is a beautiful, wonderful thing that people love and congregate around. And Italian restaurants are a place you go, and it's a thing you do. And part of what makes that work is this melting pot of pasta sauce, this melting pot of putting a whole bunch of really cool ingredients together, and to the point where you just can't really taste the individual ingredients. It becomes one big, beautiful thing.
And I hear that. And what I love about that is that the framework from which to explain something, because it's like a family. The sum is greater than the sum is greater than each individual. The sum is greater than each of the individual parts. And to take one of those parts away, the entire dish itself would not be complete. It's like omit or to forget to bring in an ingredient, the whole dish is like, something's not right. This doesn't sit right. It doesn't feel right. You put in a different pasta. It's like, oh, everything's changed. And it's certain. It's like from sociology, it's structural functionalism. There's a structure and there's a function for each one of those individual ingredients in order to serve for the greater purpose. Got that? Yeah. And then I think about, and I hear this, and then I think about the cultures that, the immigrant, I'm a mutt. I'm Irish, English, Polish, German, and Dutch. And then to what extent am I able to maintain my individual ancestry? This is just a theory, okay? So, and I hear the pasta dish. I get that. From the perspective of individuals who, for example, come to the United States and they lose their the characteristics of their culture because they assimilate. And this is just from an advocate's perspective, from their stance, of those who believe and say, no, we don't want to do this. We're losing our culture. We're starting to mesh and to mingle. Oh my God! To the extent that how then you're marrying into this culture. You need to marry within our culture. As an example, I'm going to stop talking now because we got fabulous April in the house. Thank you so much for letting me share.
Oh, Dr. Lori, thank you. And April Roga is in the house. Hi, April.
Oh, the crowd goes wild.
April, on the talk, what you want to do is unmute the microphone for Clubhouse.
I need to do that.
Perfect. And you may want to turn off sound for the Streamyard. And by the way, you're the one who asked the question. This is really interesting. I'll just share it so you guys get to see it. This is my iPad, and this is what the sound for this is. I'm on Clubhouse on iPad, and the sound is coming out of here into my microphone. and that's how we're hearing people speak. So just like for those who want to try this, I experimented 2 weeks back and it worked really well. And by the way, thanks for yielding the floor for a second. So, April, I'd love to hear from you. Hi.
This is hard because I got to unmute here and yeah, that's why I don't do this Clubhouse StreamYard thing. So I've been in and out, so I don't know what you all have been even talking about. I just wanted to be part of the process.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Well, I think you look like one of those very expressive personalities. And so why don't we, and if you're interested, feel free to join us. We come on weekly, so come on when you can make it. And then we'll basically, you'll, if you feel like you want to input away. If not, we'll just see. We'll see how you respond to what people say. So I appreciate that. I think what I'll say is Laura said something about sort of the melting pot of ingredients, and Lucas sort of reinforced that. And I think going back to Jorge, even the point that you were making earlier was simply we try to communicate in such a way, and because the people who are listening or watching or participating, one of the folks that are listening on, and I use that specifically, is blind. Jeremy Grandstaff is listening us through LinkedIn, and I love Jeremy, and he's really amazing. And what happens is some people really rely on visuals for their communication. And although Jeremy may speak in visual languaging because he's blind, he's not seeing the visuals. And so if you're 100% communicating based on visuals, you're not going to communicate effectively. And if you take that analogy, Jorge, going back to if somebody who is listening to you doesn't understand the metaphors you're using or doesn't understand the stories you're using, they're not going to hear you in the way that you meant it to be heard. And so what happens is if you do that if you have a melting pot of people in the room and you hear how everyone interpreted your story, you're going to learn. If you have that curiosity, you're going to learn, you're going to grow.
Absolutely, and that's part of the learning experience in how different people and for instance, the case that April just joined us, and she has part of the history that usually we, even if we are taking care and we are making this the best possible to keep attention, we don't grab all the history completely. We are not a perfect machines, that was say at the beginning of the talk of this chat, and say we are human imperfect people, and we catch pieces and things from one side to other side, and that is the kind of things I really enjoy in these conversations, because you catch a little bit, you twist into your own mindset, you provide a little bit of your points of view, and sometimes you create and invent new things because you didn't have the full history on hand, and you just try to connect the dots.
I love it. You bring it in, you integrate it, you make it some of your own. Jorge, that's a great perspective.
Thank you, Lucas.
All right, we're gonna do a, what's the right word? We're gonna do a director's comment to everyone live. So Dr. Laura, I'm gonna work with you for a second, because what I didn't have time last week, normally for what we do on LinkedIn and Facebook and YouTube, was we make it an hour. And then what ended up happening last time, and I didn't have time, so I needed to actually run. And what ended up happening last time is Laura, you said, hey, let me keep the room going for a little bit because I'm interested. And I'm like, okay. And then I left, and then you kept the room going. And I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. So I want to take, because I have a little time today. It's a Saturday. My wife went out. I've got a little more time to spend, and I'm so enjoying this conversation. I got two questions. One, should we continue this on the Clubhouse? And Laura, I would love to have you to take, if you're open to it, I'm love to have you make it more of the Laura Cobb show, or the Dr. Laura show. And then second is, should we keep this going on the other social media platforms? And I don't know if I have a strong opinion. I think I'm happy to end it in an hour and stay true to that. And but I'm also happy to just let the thing flow the way it needs to. Anyone?
Well, first of all, I don't shit on anybody, and so I cannot answer that question. See, this is the deal. As a coach, we're not doing the counselor thing. As a coach, you're Dorothy. I'm Glenda the Good Witch. You already know the answer. You just have to tap into it. Just tap your head. Okay, I'll stop. I'm ambivalent. I can go on for. This is not my show. I did. This is not your daily dose. Although, what's the intention? How about that? What's the intention? Deep thoughts.
Yeah. Well, the intention goes back to, there are different approaches. This is me, right? So leaders living their values is the intention of the show. So getting people in the room to learn, to grow, to have these aha moments. So, in the first hour, we sort of ran it a way that Mitchell thought it would make sense to run. And so the intention is, well, are there other approaches for people to also learn and grow in terms of living their values? And so it was sort of along the lines of what Jorge said is why don't you say something and then sit back and see how people interpret it. So I'm just saying I'm open, flexibility wise, to figure out what do we do, right? And if people want to continue, I will be happy to continue. But it doesn't have to be in the vein that we have, because the thought that I had was for an hour, and then like I said, we could stop it. And I'm kind of thinking on social media, on that we probably should, the YouTube, the LinkedIn, the Facebook, Twitter, not Facebook today, it will be next week. So I'm kind of leaning towards stopping that, if you're okay, and keeping going on Clubhouse. But anyone else have a strong opinion? April, you're absolutely so brand new to this, or I'm going to say, why don't you say that? And Adrian, what do you think too? And Frank, I'm really open.
But,
yes, sir.
So speaking of living our values, one of my values is as a leader, I believe in not discarding, not discarding any people, and rather build anything under my influence to be the best version of itself possible. How do we today? The age of today, we're so quick to discard things and replace them when they're not immediately living up to our expectations, which we set monstrously high, for almost impossible. So how do we make that shift in our corporate culture to build somebody up rather than just replace them? We got the great resignation. Everybody's struggling to find employees and people to come work at their companies because everybody's resigning en masse, realizing that if they're replaceable, then the companies they're working for are just as replaceable. It's just how do we get away from that? How do we get back to valuing the people as essential, or like the people are the company?
Do you recognize the follow through on the great resignation is the great hire? And those that are getting hired today refuse, and justifiably, to live the way in which people were hired in the past.
So you think it's a good thing? Overall?
Well, I think we're in. So I guess by the way, the answer with that question, Frank, was let's keep going for a little bit. I'll stop the record on social when it feels like the right thing to do. I think the COVID and what's happened in the world exacerbates what was going to happen anyhow. Right. And that is, we're living in an archaic society structured around not just the movement of humans into industrial complex, but the roots mechanized process approach of you coming in, learning a job, doing that job well, being optimized around it, all that time and motion studies. And that's not the way humans are. That's not the way we want to live. Some people really want and love and need structure, and other people need other things. And so my cousins who live in New York, who were very comfortable every day of their lives having a 2-hour each way commute to work was part of their lives, they do not want to go back to the office. Right? Because it was okay because everyone else did it, Frank. But now they realize that that's no longer really okay.
Yeah, like when I was growing up, when I was a kid, I remember my dad would leave before we were even awake, and he would get home like maybe 20 minutes before we had to be in bed. And he drove into. We lived in Richmond, and he drove into downtown Metro Vancouver, every day, 2-hour commute each way. And to work a job that he couldn't stand, his boss. I honestly believe that's what killed him. It's a good thing that people are no longer taking which no longer feeds their soul.
We have if I may, this answer is going to take a little while, Frank, but I think you're going to love it.
It's coming from Lucas. How's that not possible?
I'm sure that plenty of things coming from me people don't love. Frank, we have an ideological war going on inside of us. We have an ideological war, and the war is between two paradigms. It's not the one that you think. The war is between two paradigms. Paradigm one is that your greatest value in the world is to complete tasks, to make some widgets, to go out hunting and bring home the bacon. And there's another side of that war. The other side of that war is that there's something else. There's something more valuable that that every human brings to the table. Whether that is faith, right? Maybe you bring faith to the table, or ingenuity, your capacity to come up with new ideas or drive an idea forward. But that task completion in itself is actually something distracting us from being great and from approaching our greatness. And that war is coming to a head now. We're seeing symptoms of that ideological war in every facet of society, everywhere. The Great Resignation is itself a symptom of that ideological war, that again, framing it that either your greatest value is task completion, or that there is something else that you bring to the table other than task completion. And Frank, as long as we culturally continue to tolerate the notion that task completion is our greatest value, the question that you just asked cannot be answered in any way other than that grin and bear it, suck it up, it's going to keep happening. And in order for us to move past that answer, in order for us to have an answer that's better or different than suck it up, it's going to keep happening, show up 9 to 5, punch your ticket, we must culturally move beyond task completion as value and accept that task completion is just something that needs to be done in order for us to bring our greatest value to the table.
Hmm.
Do you think that's universal held for everybody, or is that a subjective per person? Do you think that's universal for everybody deep down, or would that be something? Would there be different degrees of it?
Different degrees of what? Different degrees of the greatest value that you have to bring to the table?
Of the desire to shift outside of task completion, of seeing that being a source of fulfillment.
Right. That's a valid and important question. I think that most people are not even aware of this war going on within themselves. It is going on within each and every one of us. But I think most people are not even aware of it and are choosing to find some degree of fulfillment in the opportunity that they see in front of them, right? Play the hand that you're dealt. But we actually don't live in a world where you have to play the hand that you're dealt. Dr. Laura will jump in all over this. We live in a world where we can decide that we want to deal a new hand to ourselves. It's amazing. We have the opportunity to choose what game we're playing and how to deal with the hand that's in front of us. Relative to that, some people are choosing to accept task completion because they don't see that they have another choice. They're not aware of this war within them. It is within them.
This is Dr. Laura. So that's fabulous, if I may. So the question therein becomes, for those who do not have the capacity, either they're geographically, physically, based on their culture, their gender, their race, their class, their religion, whatever circumstances that they're born into, to what extent? And this is just from a cerebral point, as one of my colleagues mentioned, this is just an alternative. I'm not saying I agree or disagree with anything. Those who have the power, I know, right? Those who have the power to control and make certain laws, like we do have free will. Absolutely. We have to, and then there's different levels to that. At some point it's like, well, I have this inherent drive. I'm such a go-getter and I want to do this, as opposed to, well, pull yourself up by your bootstraps and just get it done. And then moving towards something just for the sake of achieving something else, like I did for so long. It's an achiever's curse. Imposter syndrome with achiever's curse. I think I earned another degree. Look at that. I think I'll earn another whatever certificate. So what does that fulfill? What does that mean? How does that influence my standing, my perceived standing in the society? And then at the same time, I'm wondering that, yes, we're human beings. We're not human doings. We're born to be, and that in that way, therein, in order for us to make any change or development, or there's any innovation or the light bulb or whatever it is, that there has to be movement and striving to succeed in some fashion. And in that vein, there's only two choices we have. We can either quit or we can fail. I'd rather be a failure than a quitter. And I know people, oh, be careful the words you use. Think about it, though. The only time we're done when we achieve something is when we succeed. And then there's another opportunity to develop. We had a car. We have a lot of upgrades. We're still always striving for something. You know, I don't want to just dwell in a home. It'd be great to have air conditioning. That's a luxury. Or to have, screens on the windows. So there's always this movement. I hear and I support everything you're saying. At the same time, it's like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I can breathe and I have shelter. I got water and I'm safe. Okay, then there's this striving to become self-actualized, and we have to, and I agree with you, we have to have those that foundation, that base, in order for us to move up. And we're hard, if we were satisfied with just having the bare minimum, none of us would be on this app or have a phone for that matter, because we achieve to have more. I want to have that connection. I want to have that community. That's why I'm on here. And so for me, I want to move in that direction, so that way I'm more fulfilled. But I also hear that everybody has inherent worth. And essentially, this is my favorite quote, and I'll end on this, is that, in the words of Toni Morrison, when your children walk into the room, do your eyes light up? We don't need the computers. We don't need the television or the phones or whatever else. We need validation. When we come into the world, did I matter? Did I make a difference? We're born to die. And so we make up in between those 2 days is what's the juice in the sauce. That's the sauce for you there, Lucas. Bam! How do you like that one?
So you touched on something
Laura, that was so cool, by the way.
Laura, the validation, the question, what for our primary motivators, what the impetus that drives our life forward. What is the objective focus? Is it focused externally, or is it something that's focused internally? Is your drive, is your bar for achievement, or is your criteria for acceptance and success written with your hand or with somebody else's hand? I think that's a really a critical part of the whole question. I think a lot of people get that wrong. They choose to validate externally, and if you do, when you do that, it's literally somebody else is choosing your finish line for you. You have to live up to that, to somebody else's expectations rather than your own. So you're choosing something that doesn't fill your soul, as opposed to if you knowing yourself and knowing where your hard edges are, knowing how you fit in the world, it can only be done once you truly know yourself, and then you can know where your finish line is. In my opinion. Anyways, I'm done.
All right, April, I'm ready for you. You're sitting here and you're ready to explode with excitement. April Roga, give us something.
I'm exploding. Yes, I am. Bring it somewhere. The whole reason I came in here was because Dr. Laura was here. Duh. And now I got to meet you. And I'm a people person. I love to meet people. And I love this topic. Leaders living their values and showing up Credibly. There's so many people nowadays who are just talking the talk and not walking the walk. And it's all usually to sell something, right? But I tend to, so I talked myself out of coming onto the LinkedIn live stream that you're doing. You can ask Dr. Laura because she caught me, she busted me. And it's because I talk myself out of things thinking that I'm not credible because I don't have a business. I work an 8 to 5. And my husband and I are building a business, but we haven't earned $1 doing that yet. And so I think to myself, but who am I to get into a conversation with these cerebral people who are talking way over my head? Laura, for those of you who are playing along at home, Laura is on the live stream with a big old stop sign saying, "Stop it, April." But I like to show up my genuine, credible self, even when I have no idea what the hey I'm going to talk about, because I know that is going to resonate with people and in turn give them permission to be the credible selves that they really want to be. So hopefully all that time you waited for me to speak, it was well worth it.
Oh, that was, yes. That was perfect.
Can I add something here?
Sure. Please.
Or did you want to go first?
No, I can, man. I'm sure your input will be valuable here. So please. And April, thank you for bringing us back in.
Everybody's value. Everybody's input here is absolutely valuable, without a doubt.
Well, hey, Ken, I'm going to interrupt. So the answer is yes, and specifically, the reason I want you to go and the reason you were called to go for a good reason, and what you're going to say is going to be so spectacular just to build you up. So now I'm ready. The stage is set for you, buddy.
No pressure whatsoever. So just so many good stuff that's been said, and I just wanted to throw in. So what Lucas was talking about, and our greatest value and versus the task, and to me the way things work, this task stuff, without a doubt, I think most people are so focused on the task oriented and getting the results, and not realizing, in actual fact, the way I look at it is actually your greatest value. Because the tasks and the results of the tasks are actually a byproduct of your greatest value. The best results that you're ever going to get are going to be the results of your greatest value. And tying in with what Dr. Laura said, in the sense that, everybody is in different places. So and everybody's going through potentially their different challenges. At different, again, different cultures, different countries, where you were born, all that stuff that you said. Yet, I believe that each and every person is still capable of, and this is where the free will comes in, is within themselves, tying in with validation, as what was being said as well, within themselves, actually finding their greatest value. And when someone can do that, when they can actually within themselves find their greatest value, which within themselves is validation enough, then the tasks that they're going to carry out, the results that they're going to create, are going to be absolutely phenomenal. And again, tying in with the great resignation and what's going on, is that absolutely, anybody that is going to looking for a job and wants to be hired, they're going to be looking to be hired by people who are going to offer the opportunity for them to be able to tap into their greatest value. They're no longer want to be involved with companies that are not going to allow that opportunity. And tying in with the melting pot, and I truly believe this, is that whatever that is being made, whether it's the melting pot or whether it's the salad, I believe that there are, let's say there are a couple of common ingredients that are always going to be there. And if we want to talk about food, and I'm not sure if I mentioned this last time, I just love this, to tap into the greatest value. I believe that one needs to tap into what I call their umami self. And umami in the food world is the essence of deliciousness. And I believe that there is this one common ingredient or a number of common ingredients that will always be in every melting pot, will always be in.
Uh-oh.
I think he's got a phone call.
Yeah, bummer. Like the crescendo. The answer to life, universe, and everything is.
So once that common ingredient, when it's there, and I believe that common ingredient, and this is the crux of everything, is in each and every one of us. And when we start to look at that common ingredient in each and every one of us, now everything starts to come together, because now although we have our individuality, and I understand how important that is, we start to move away from the duality of everything that exists here. The right, the wrong, the off, the on, the white, the black, whatever it is. It's these common ingredients that tie everything together. So that's what I wanted to share.
I appreciate that. And here's what I want. I want to say a couple things. First, I think we should, after I'm done, why don't we just, it feels like a good time to wrap up. We'll let those people in the room who want to give a summary to please do. First, I have to absolutely thank Laura. Thank you so much for not just being here and being you. And also Adrian, the same thing, just for being you and showing up and being moderators and wanting to help, and Lucas for adding opinion, but Laura for convincing April to come here and be her. And what I loved about what you said, April, not only did you bring the topic of the room back, thank you, we needed that reset, but the most important thing, and it goes in line with the question that Jorge mentioned. So I'm going to tie together Jorge's question that came in chat. His question was, does actualization mean continuous learning? And I believe the answer is, in order to be credible, we need to be curious. We need to be coachable. We need to be the type of human who's going to show up and be them, April, whoever you are, because you are who you are at the moment. And yes, there are places that you and maybe you and your husband want to go together with your business, but there's certain values and there's a way you process information. And the fact that you were brave enough not to show up on Clubhouse, but to show up on LinkedIn says a lot about who you are and what you do. And the fact that you are ready to help bring you to whatever that next level is for you. That's what living credibly means. It's being coachable and saying, hey, listen, there's a lot of stuff I don't know. I'm ready to learn, but let me tell you what I do know. If you want to hear, and we wanted to hear it, and we heard.
Hey, fabulous.
So thank you for that. So, hey, listen, I'd love to have folks, feels like a good time to wrap up. I just want to say thank you. This was a fun start of an experiment for me. I am open to change, to learn, to grow. It feels like, audience-wise, that we have the right thing. And Laura, you and I can talk a little bit more. Like, how do we bring more people? How do we grow this? Like, when you said, hey, more people should join, it was so cool to see more people join as members of Credibly Nation and come and join us, right? And I love what I'd like to put out there is, if you want to show up on video next time, reach out. We'll make sure that the chats are there. I'll put you in the calendar invite. April, why don't you connect to me? Send me a note or connect to me on LinkedIn with your email, and I'll just put you on the calendar. If you don't show, that's okay, but I'll put you on the calendar so that we could see you. And then one of the things that I would like to make, I'd like to make an offer. And I think Jorge, I'm going to give you credit for this offer. By the way, one of my favorite lines, if Laura or Adrian, you want to put into the pinned link, Creddust, CREDUST.com, Creddust.com. Creddust is, I'll put it in our chat. Yeah. It's one of those fun words. Creddust is that magic that happens when you share somebody else's ideas, thoughts, and opinions, right? We don't lose when we share somebody else's ideas, right? And so I'm spreading some cred dust to Jorge, and I'm going to say, dude, you've given me such a very cool way to think about it. And that is, if you're talking to somebody during the week and they feel like they communicate something effectively, but they're not 100%, or they wanted to communicate something, but it wasn't heard on the right ears. Or for you guys, if something happens this week and you try to communicate something and it didn't quite come out the way you thought it was, why don't you bring it to the room? Right? You can bring it to the room and say, okay, here's the environment. Here's what I wanted to communicate. Here's what I said. And guys, what do you think? And I invite you, in terms of us as leaders, living your values and showing up credibly, is sometimes, thanks so much for putting that in the chat. It's the creddust.com is a definition of a word. I want to get it in the dictionary. If anyone knows how to do that, let me know. And creddust is what we do every day for those people who are good at sharing their credibility, versus the old school where where somebody else said something and we owned it ourselves. So Jorge, thank you for this idea, because I think we should carry it and see. So next week, if nobody comes in with their own idea or to do this, maybe we'll let it go. But this is my thought for next week. Think about that one thing you wanted to communicate, and maybe it didn't hit, and we want to share it. Sorry, Laura, you were going to say something.
Well, I was just going to say, it reminds me of James Carver, I believe, is the author of Atomic Habits. It's not the volcanic eruptions of change that happen. It's not the catastrophic change necessarily that happens to each one of us that shifts everything, because that can. It's the daily choices that we make that might not. Brushing your teeth, once every day is not going to ensure that you. It's not going to ensure that you have your enamel, but brushing your teeth once is not going to ensure that you have your enamel when you're older, but it's doing it daily. And it's like compound interest. The incremental changes, the differences, the choices, this is where the free will comes in. And if it's an internal versus external locus of control, is that we can have both. It's just that dailiness, we keep showing up, suiting up, showing up, stepping up, and speaking up on a daily basis. Can I rely on you? Do you have integrity? Are you reliable? It's a difference between validity and reliability in research. Are you doing what you say you're going to do? That's the reliability. And are you doing what's appropriate, what's relevant in that moment? So if you're putting that call to action out there, I'll take that. Bring it.
I love it. Well, thank you. So because you started, could you wrap up for today, and then we'll let anyone else who wants to actually share, just to give their summary for the day, and then we'll call it a day.
Could you repeat the question?
Oh, what's your summary? How do you summarize today? Uh-oh. I made a boo-boo. For those who can hear me here, I accidentally left the room. I now need to get back. I was doing something wrong. Sorry. And so now you can't hear me on the stream. How bad? Mitchell is bad. Okay. Join the room in progress. I'm back.
The thing about it is that we've been having this conversation for a good, 1, 2, 3, 4, it says in my clock, was that about for a good 90 minutes. And just this fabulous conversation about credibility. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Mitchell, the call to action is, if there's something that happens during the week, and are you actually living your values? Are you walking the talk? And if you are, great, prove it, come back and show us. And then if you're not, just own your stuff. I mean, There's an experience I had earlier in the week, and I'll end with this, is that I called someone on their stuff, and the person actually sat back and said, let me think about that. And that just the willingness, just the openness to that it's possible, that possibly maybe what I'm saying doesn't represent what I'm doing, or the way I'm coming off the way I'm coming off is not my intent. So if my intent is one thing and someone perceives it one way, then there's a disconnect, and so they're not understanding my intent. Now, the other thing that I just said is that if are you doing what you're saying you're going to do? If you're going to be here next week, I want to see a flash of mic in the Clubhouse room. Give me a flash of mics if you're going to be here next week. That includes me. I see 2, 3, 4, 5. Come on, Ken. 6, 7. We got it all right, nice. So we will see you next week. Mitchell, I'm sure you'll have the calendar link out, or to those from Adrian too. Thank you so much. And I'm going to turn it back to you, Mitchell. Mike is yours. Thanks for letting me be here.
Oh, you are so welcome. Thank you, Adrian. How would you summarize? Thanks so much for.
Hey, Mitchell, it's Adrian. I love this room. I want to say that Dr. Laura, hopefully you can hear me. I have a red bar. But
yes.
Isn't it more credible that I actually didn't flash the mic, because I really don't know what my plans are next Saturday with my family and my children and living at the beach. And maybe maybe I'm going to spend the time at the beach to relax myself. So I think part of, in my mind, with being credible is being careful. So if I say yes, I'm going to be there, I am there. Mitchell, I love that you're including me, and I'm glad that I had the reminder come up. But I never know, really, like on a Saturday. So I totally understand, like, to me, it's like the most important thing, because I teach corporate etiquette, that I have to be who I am going to be. But so I'm very careful when I say yes, because to me, and the reason why is because if I say yes to something and then I can't make it, that kind of internal guilt that I have, and that kind of like feeling awful, I decided many years ago, I don't want that feeling. So I'm better off being credible by just being honest. Like, I don't make excuses. If I can't do it, I can't do it. And that's just like the reality of life. And I also want to say, before we end the room, that I think age has a little bit to do with this, because I know I'm going to be 60 in 2 weeks. And I know I'm not the same person I was when I was 30, 40, or even 50. And a lot of that is the growth and the wisdom throughout the years that I've received. And I don't know if it's something that I could just read a book and be like, all of a sudden I become like 10 years more of wisdom. And then just, Mitchell, I want to say, please stick this out on Clubhouse. You may not have the biggest rooms, but what we know is that it does take time. And right now, I've been doing a little research. Clubhouse is kind of in flux, right? There's a lot going on. More people are looking for rooms like this. They want rooms like this, and they want to drown out some of the other rooms that are not good for the soul. So please don't stop. I probably won't go on LinkedIn, because that, it's a Saturday, I wherever I am. But I love that you're doing this. And just, you know what? Next month, 6 months from now, you may have those rooms with 1,000 people in the room. And I think that absolutely will happen. But we know good things take time. Love to Dr. Laura. I love how everyone loves Dr. Laura. And I think that I feel like I'm missing something, because we have to meet Dr. Laura at Zoom so I can learn a little bit more about you, because I also would like to refer you to some people that I need to know what you do and understand it, so I can take that credibility and share it with other people, because there's so many people that aren't credible. And anyways, it's nice to see everyone else, Lucas and April and Jorge. Mitchell, have a great rest of the day. I'm Adrian. I'm throwing back up the mic to Mitchell. Thank you, everyone.
Adrian, you are most certainly welcome, and thank you.
I think Mitchell's muted.
Am I muted? Uh-oh.
No.
Oh, I am.
No, I hear you.
Oh, okay. Here I am. Is it better?
Yep.
Abel, thank you. I made the technical mistake in Clubhouse of leaving the room and then coming back, and silly me. Thank you, April, for letting me know. It was so funny, Adrian, as you were speaking, I was getting goosebumps at the exact same time Dr. Laura got goosebumps. It was just such a beautiful thing to say. And so thank you. And I love the articulation. If Clubhouse is full of, and many places in the world is full of, there's no other word I could say. I'm just going to say shit. Soul-sucking shit. If the world is full of that and you don't want to be there, and this is the right place. Let's invite other people to join us. And Jennifer, I'd love you to, if you're open to it, I'd love you to come to the mic, say hello, so we could know who you are, and then you know, and then nicely say goodbye. So because we're at the end, but hi.
Absolutely can do that, Mitchell. Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Thank you so much. I'm following you everywhere. I absolutely agree. I'm obsessed with Clubhouse for almost 2 weeks now, so I'm a newbie as well, gaining followers every day, which apparently we need followers to look credible, but I am very credible, as in you are as well. I've already messaged you on Instagram. Thank you, Dr. Laura, for the information for sure as well. I follow her, so where she goes, I kind of follow, even though you might not have known that. I also follow Eric, but I'm learning so much here. I fully believe in credibility, and for me, my approach, I'm a money coach and a wealth advisor, and I empower women on this planet to become worthy of wealth. And I fully believe that my credibility comes from my authentic vulnerability, because I ain't perfect. I am perfectly imperfect, and I'm absolutely happy to share all of my wonderful experiences that brought me to where I'm at today, which could have gone another way on another day, but I'm so happy to be with credible, authentic people. Thank you so much, and I hope you all have an amazing, I'm here in San Diego. I am going to go sit by the pool. I am going to enjoy my day, and I will be soaking up that vitamin D, and I hope you all do one thing today that absolutely is self-care for yourself as well. Again, thanks so much for opening the room, Mitchell. I am a total follower. Over and out.
Thank you, Jennifer. And given that you said San Diego, and there's somebody else in the room who's also from San Diego, I'm going to say, Lucas, how'd you like to wrap up?
I am also. I do also live in San Diego, and like you, Jennifer, I think that appreciating the sun and spending some time enjoying the weather is apropos. It needs to be done, because if we in San Diego don't do it, then who will? We had some extraordinary conversations in the last hour and a half since I joined. I think that some of the most fun conversations that we talk about every week and that show up over and over and over again are when somebody gets vulnerable about something that they're struggling with internally. And Jorge, that's something that you invited us to do again today here live, and I love it. And I try to bring some of my own vulnerability, and it's hard. It's hard to do that publicly. It's hard to do that where other people can judge me. And I appreciate you, Jorge and Mitchell and Dr. Laura. I appreciate you for listening and for helping me to find the path that I need to be walking that serves me the best.
That's a mic drop. Where's the mic drop card, Laura?
There's a microphone at the bottom of the screen if you are on the stage, and so you flash that on me. That was a warm fuzzy on you.
Yeah. Thank you, Lucas. Jorge, thank you, by the way. You and I were in a conversation, and you said, Mitchell, have you ever thought about this Clubhouse thing? And I go, yeah, I have an account, but I haven't really done anything with it. And I'm a co-creation. Everything I do is co-creation. You said, well, why don't we start and we'll see where it goes? And so, Jorge, thank you. I want you to have credit. And dude, I'm here because of you. So thank you so much.
Okay, I am glad to trigger that kind of conversations, and I love that. And I really enjoy being with a group of people that are so open and so doers. I have a little bit of disagreement with Laura. Is we are a doers people. We want to achieve things. You say that. You put in the comments, you were human beings, not human doings. No, we are human doings. We love that, and this group is one of the things that we have it and love it. And thank you for sharing that experience to potentialize and feel It's going to be a great weekend. I wish you to enjoy that. I wish you that all of you enjoy Formula One and see what is going to happen tomorrow in the races, and looking forward to keep this conversation going next week.
I love that. And I think everyone got a chance to talk, and you guys reminded me of something. I'm in a networking group. We meet every Saturday, very early for me. So it's 7 a.m. my time. And it was the 700th meeting. I've not been to all 700. And the word today was full circle. And I just thought I would share what I said regarding full circle, and then we'll close it for the day. And this might be one of those, I don't know if it's 30 seconds or 60, but there might be something here that might be valuable. So let me share with you what's interesting when we're born. When we're born and we live as kids, our parents brought us to a playground and we played in the sandbox, we played on the swings, and we met other kids, and they were instantly our best friends. And as our best friends, we were like, hey, let's be friends for life, not even knowing or caring that life may be only the next 5 or 10 minutes. And then we entered, are you ready? Real life. And so many things got in the way, and so many processes, and we got busy, and we did all this busy, silly stuff, and we lost touch with the ability to make friends. And then as we get, I'm going to say wiser, it's not necessarily older, it's not an age thing, although Adrienne mentioned, she's turning 60. Some of it comes with age, because we get all these marketing cookie cutter approaches to life and we follow them. And at some point in time, we say, yeah, no, that's not right. And then we get to a state, and that state, you could be in your 20s, you could be in your teens. I've met people who are awake that are at many different age groups. So it's not necessarily when you get older, but for many people, it's when they get older. And all of a sudden, you so treasure the ability to have friends, the ability to have people who you can count on your life. And there is a simple answer for that. When somebody comes to the table credibly, when somebody comes to the table authentically, and you trust them, and you know the intent and commitment they have to do the right thing, that they're coachable no matter how much experience they have, that they're the type of people who you want to hang out with, you want to be friends with, and you start recognizing that it's one of those things that you can make friends a lot easier that way. Maybe this is the room for that. I believe the credibility stuff that I'm doing is the potential for that, because when you could truly see somebody at their core heart, Laura, when I see you react to people speaking, like I'm seeing you, like the real you. I just so love those visuals. I want that for everyone. I want us to go back to the point when we were kids in the playground. Guess what? We have all this experience now, but let's go back to the playground and let's make the types of friends and friendships that really will help us co-create a better future together. I think I want to leave with that. So, hey, now, thanks for giving me the chance. I just, you reminded me in the wrap-ups that that was something worth sharing. I love you all. Thank you so much for being part of my life in this way. And I'll look forward to seeing those that make it. I'll look forward to seeing you next week. And please, let's bring some friends. Let's make sure those people who are ready to show up as themselves, able to show up as you. Same thing for you, Laura. I remember the first time you came on, just showing up as you. Beautiful. Anyhow, we'll start the Streamyard. I'm going to say goodbye to everyone on LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube.